Roadstatus.eu again to fulfill all the requirements the users want. So that is the history of our company. I work for BeSite as well as for TripService. Next one, please. Now, our market segments where we are aiming for, as you can see, that's event support, incident management, and also roadworks. First of all, event support, personally my favorite. We help big venues like in the Netherlands, the Johan Cruijff Arena, but also the Rai Amsterdam, you maybe know, and also a lot of big events in the Netherlands. You probably don't know the names. We help them with a multimodal travel planner, of course linked with Waze, where we can give the visitors of a venue specific routes to their parking spot or to the parking spot. So the visitor will come hopefully more happily to their events than they come now when it's very busy. Second is the emergency services or incident management. We support. What we do is we support with Waze reports and navigation. We have also a dispatching tool for Waze information regarding incidents. When they drive to an incident, they know which specific route we gave them, and other data come from Waze we give to the emergency services. And as last, roadworks, we support governments, road authorities, but also constructors with the communicating with the road user. But that's one thing. The second thing what we do is that Waze data we make dashboardings for example, for the impact of the roadworks, and at least we are using tooling for informing in alternative options of transport. So that's the things we do for our market segments. Thank you. For the last one is visualize. We have visualized how we collect the data. As you can see in the dia, we collect data from governments and private parties, and we bring that together in road status. In the Netherlands, we call it wegstatus. As you can see here in the dia, we improve this data and we transport it to, as you can see, Waze, but also TomTom. We have a direct link with Waze. And Waze is a part of Google Maps nowadays, some few years right now. So our data ends up also at Google Maps. We also receive the data back, as you can see, Peter will tell you more about that later in this presentation. For you guys. We also want to know who you are. So, Peter, could you bring in a question we have for them?
Yes.
Thank you. Right now you see a question in your screen and you can answer on that question. There's a little lack of time in. So we are well known about it. Yes, the first questions are coming in. I see a lot of government people, mostly everyone I see. Right, Peter?
Yes.
Okay, very nice. Also, feel free to ask any question you want in the Q&A section. Later this webinar we will answer hopefully all of your questions. It's about the time we have for that. And then I would like to give the floor to Peter. Thank you all. And have fun.
Yes, I see many more people joined in the meantime, so a very warm welcome to everybody who just joined. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. We hope you're all safe and healthy. And as I explained before, being with TripService, we are part of the Waze Partners community. And being part of the community, we really want to inspire other people about and telling something about how we use Waze, and inform people about what are the possibilities for using the data. So that's what we are going to do today. First, Wouter already shared something about what is TripService, who are we, and what are we doing right now. But the origin of using Waze data originated with Jan and myself several years ago, and it started with incident management. We were working with several governments, and we noticed that they were working with incident management and trying to improve their incident response time, but were mainly working on the process after they detected an incident. Their standard incident resolve time was about 21 minutes, and every half year they were able to gain like a minute within their whole process, but they really wanted to improve much more, and that's when we got in touch and we started using the Waze data for incident detection. And we noticed that there was a really big leap we could take by using the data. We just used the standard Waze feed with all the traffic jams and the incidents available in the feed. And pretty soon after we started using, we noticed that in the whole process we could gain up to 20 minutes for earlier detection. So if you look to the whole line of incident detection and resolvement, then you can see that we could always gain about 100% of the time we normally used, which helped a lot in resolving traffic jams and helped a lot in making sure that traffic could generally flow very well. My apologies for our English. We're not native English speakers, so forgive us if our pronunciation isn't 100%. When we are using the Waze data, one of the most important things we noticed over the last couple of years is the availability of a reliability score within the data. That's one of the biggest advantages, in my opinion, for using the Waze data. Specifically, the reliability variable we use is very important in that, because in the first pilot phase of using the data, we noticed there were a lot of false positives. Obviously, sometimes people report a stranded car that isn't there, or they report a stranded car that's only there to take a phone call and then drives off again, and then in that case you get a lot of false positives. So we filtered a lot of reports out of the data, and specifically the reliability index. We set a filter on reliability of 6 and higher. To go much more precise into the data, if you filter 6 and higher, you filter out about 1/3 of the data, and you only get the reports that are done by senior Waze users, so trusted Waze users, or reports that have been confirmed by other users on the road. So we noticed that the false positives decreased quite a lot. And then there's also confidence within the data, and we use that to narrow down the end time of reports. People can give thumbs up and thumbs down when using their cars and when using Waze, and you don't get that data back, but we noticed that using the confidence, we can narrow down much easier. Like when a report is done, So when the stranded car is gone, when the accident has been resolved. And that's something that specifically helps a lot for analyzing the data. So when we make reports of the management around resolvement times, then we notice that using this variable in the data, that helps a lot. We're also going to show a few examples of what we've created with the data. And if you give us a minute, then we'll put this also on the screen. So basically our main dashboard, it's Roadstatus.eu. It's freely to use for everybody, and that's also basically our main goal, is to give insight into what data is available worldwide. So we'll give you an overview here of the data that's available. If you zoom in here, you can see basically all the Waze data that's available in the area, but also all the dynamic signs from the government that are available. Just a second. So basically this gives a really good dynamic overview of all the data that's available, both to government sources and Waze sources. And we built this about 5-6 years ago. And as soon as we created it, we noticed that there was a real demand of having this data visual available. And also we noticed that something like this wasn't available yet. Even the government didn't have such a dashboard available. So that's when we really started to think like, well, maybe there's a bigger demand, and we can start using developing more tools also for specific government tasks. I'm going to share some other examples. Another use case we created was traffic radio news. Obviously not everybody is using Waze. People should, obviously, because it's the best navigation app there is. But still, some people don't want to use Waze. Some people don't even use navigation at all. And that's why we started a tool sending out traffic information on websites, sending out traffic information on the radio. I'm going to show a little example here. You can see it on the right, and this is basically all the traffic information coming from Waze, and it'll show all the relevant traffic informations on the main highways, also combine this with local government information. So we created a tool to combine this with the local government information, also with the Waze incidents, to give some more context to the traffic jams that are being reported. And the tool I just shown is just a simple tool that's being shared with radio stations, so they can use Waze data and just have a very quick overview of all the biggest incidents in the area, and share something about this in a traffic report.
For Peter, I would like to adjust something. We do this for Q Music and JoFM in Belgium.
Yes.
So the example that you saw was in the Dutch translation, but that's why, because we do this for JoFM and for Belgium.
Yes, thank you. So this was something about the standard Waze data feeds and how we use this data feeds. Obviously, there are many more examples of how we use the data, but we're narrowing it down right now because of time. In next webinars we're going to hold, we are going to more deep dive into specific tools we created based upon the Waze data. The second source we're using is the traffic view feed, and this is a relatively new feed that's available from Waze. I don't know how many people are using this feed already, but I know that many people use the traffic view tool, and within this tool it's possible to analyze different traffic flows and to see what's the current throughput at specific routes, and also see where are the biggest delays. But we were also using it for a few years already, also for some specific government projects. We were helping the government to use this tool, but we were lacking several features like historical data. That standard traffic view is only real time, and embedding the other data sources. As you could just see in our dashboard, road status, then we embed a lot of other sources into our tools, and this wasn't possible at the standard traffic view. So we decided to build our own based upon the traffic view feeds, and that's something we've done over the past year. We gather the traffic flow from the data feeds and save this into our databases. And this way we can get a better results at events and bigger roadwork projects. Specifically for the events, we have a real-time dashboard, which includes a 30-minute trend. So whenever there's an event, we monitor the input and the output traffic, but we also can see the 30-minute trend of the last recorded throughput, and in that way you can see if there's any if it's necessary to act upon the traffic flow. Also during roadworks, we mostly use the historic information. As I said, we save it into a database, and that way we can make some analysis at the end of the roadworks, and also analyze it and see whether the detour routes are up to the capacity. Obviously, when you close down one of the main highways, you need to have good detour routes, and that's something we monitor during roadworks. But also we compare different phases. So we make a measurement before the roadworks, we make one after the roadworks, and then we can see whether the roadworks made any significant improvements in the traffic flow. Yeah, and obviously getting all the average traffic flows gives a lot of many interesting information, and we're going to show you an example of how it looks like. So I'm going to put it on the screen right now, and what you see here is our current dashboard. So when we open it, I just need to go to the right location. So what you see here are all the current routes. We're streaming from the Netherlands, so right now there isn't any rush hour. It's 7:30 p.m. So there isn't anything going on right now, which is a pity, because we can't really show the real data that's behind. But if you look at this scheme over here at the right, then we can see that about 20 minutes ago there was a small delay on this route. And when we click the route, we can see in which direction the traffic flow is being measured. So also here you can see there was a small delay in traffic on this specific route a while ago. Then we also have some specific statistics. For example, here, if we open this, then we can see for every route, we can see we measured this last September, the September the 15th in 2020. And for the whole day, we can see here what was the traffic flow on on these specific segments during the whole day. And we can also see, based upon the normal traffic throughput, like what was the delay. For example, on this route, you can see that the free flow speed is 5 on this segment, so 5 minutes from start to end. And in the morning rush hour, we had a delay of almost even more than 10 minutes of delay. So you can really get things like that back in our dashboard. And you can also see what's the average crossing time driving over this segment. And so you can compare this on a measurement before and a measurement after the roadworks are finished. So, that's basically the two different data sources that we are using within our tools. Now something about the background, why we use Waze data, and what's the main benefit for us using this data. Obviously, there are also several other data suppliers that supply kind of the same traffic data. But with Waze, there are specific benefits that we want to share something about. Well, first of all, and maybe that's even the most important one, is that the data is free of charge. And we noticed that this is something that's really important also for governments. Obviously, public organizations, governments, they need to spend their money wisely. And it's also something that we adapted to as TripService. It's our goal, it's our belief that all data should be free of charge always, and that data should belong to the public and not only to private organizations. That's also the reason why we would never charge anyone just to use data. Data is not something that we are getting paid for. So that's basically kind of the background behind TripService, and that's also mainly because we started this as volunteers, as part of the Waze volunteer community. The second reason is that we think that this data is also safety related, and we also believe that safety related data should always be available to everyone. You shouldn't be safer in a car if you pay more. So that's why we think that all safety related data should always be free of charge. And luckily we see that, for example, the European Union and several car companies think the same way, and they are giving or working on giving their data away for free, specifically if it's safety related data. Well, the second reason why we use Waze data is availability. Many data sources with floating car data are only available on the main highways. And if we use the Waze data, we can just have the whole road network available. Waze doesn't narrow down on just the highways, but Waze gives data available on every street there is. And also the area that you need the data for isn't limited. For example, we are mostly working in the Benelux area, so that expands over 3 countries, and it doesn't need anything more than, for example, the city of Amsterdam, who just needs data for the city of Amsterdam. So that's also something that's really easy with Waze, and which is very different at other data suppliers. Well, and the third, and for myself, the most important one is the reliability of the Waze data. Waze consists of very accurate data, and if we compare this to other data sources, then Waze comes also always out on top. For example, not to judge, but if you compare this to Google Maps, Google Maps has much more data, but that's only quantitative data, but the quality is often much lower, specifically because Google Maps consists of cyclists, people in public transport. Basically, everybody with an Android phone is like a sensor for Google Maps, and this results in some pollution of the data, which doesn't exist in Waze, because Waze is in 99% of the cases only used by the drivers. For example, I live in a kind of tourist area, and whenever I see a bus of tourists stopped at the side of the road to take a picture of some building, then it's 100% sure that Google Maps will also show a traffic jam there, because it senses that many people are standing still at that location, and then it will guess that there will be a traffic jam within Google Maps. Well, so far we've spoken about the usage of the Waze data supplied by Waze, but obviously we also give back a lot of data. Wouter already shared something about that, and also showed already our platform. I'm going to put it on the screen again for a second. So basically this is our data platform, and as you can see on the arrows, data is coming from a lot of sources, but also getting towards a lot of other services. And I want to share something about how we generate our own data feeds, and what are the benefits to give data back to the public. Basically, we've teamed up a long time ago with a lot of governments, also with the emergency services over the past year, and we supplied back real-time data to both Waze and Google Maps about locations where roadworks are going on, locations where accidents happened, locations where roadside personnel was working, and basically this resulted in digital pre-announcements of people working on or on the side of the road. And by generating these kinds of in-car warnings, we can make sure that people working on the road will be kept safer. The second data stream towards navigation partners is information about bigger roadworks. First of all, real-time data about roadworks. We work together also with the local Waze community. That's still a big part of what we do, and we also want to encourage other partners to really get in touch with their own local Waze community. They have much more data and information available than we could ever have. Specifically, if you look at a country-wide information, then with the Waze community, you have like hundreds of local people available who know everything about their own city, everything about their own village, and it's like having digital reporters all around the country. They also work with our tools and validate all the information coming from the government, which we are sending back to Waze and Google Maps. Just checking where we are. Oh yes. Basically, whenever there's a traffic guard on the road, or when there's an ambulance or a police working on the road, we warn people coming across that people are around like 500 meters before, which is still very much necessary because every day there are still happening accidents when people are trying to work on the roads. We don't only supply real-time data, but we also have pre-trip data we share with Waze. This isn't part of the standard Waze partnerships program, but it's part of Waze Ads, and we also want to share something about that and the opportunities that you have there to share something with the public about the road usage. We don't really advertise businesses. We don't advertise nice places to go, but we advertise places people don't need to go. And I'm going to show some examples in a minute. But basically what we do is through the Waze Ads program, it's possible to see where people have been and also send them a specific message. I'm sure. Yes. So on the right, you can see an example of a message we've sent out in Waze. And this was a big project near Amsterdam, where we informed people about a big freeway that was closed. And we also give them some perspective about what's going on, what they need to do, and also we can give them some alternatives. And of course, if there isn't any alternative, we ask them not to travel or to travel on another day. So that's basically something that we how we provide information towards Waze and towards the road users. So that was basically my part. Now we're going to the technical part. Pim Broens, a colleague of us, will share something about our technical system. And basically because the area here is quite small and we're recording this in the afternoon, we pre-recorded the content of Pim. So we'll get this on the screen.
Welcome all to this slightly technical part of the webinar. I will start with a quick introduction about myself, and after that we'll dive into some of the challenges we're facing and the solutions we're putting into place from a technical standpoint. My name is Pim Broens. I am a lead developer with TripService, and currently I have about 15 years of experience with development of large, complex projects, and all sorts of import, export, and data handling. For the current project, I'm responsible for all the technical components and decisions. The project we're currently building a new version of is a sort of middleman for all kinds of traffic-related data. The Roadstatus platform receives several feeds from external sources and processes those to a useful format. In turn, the platform provides feeds and, in the future, REST APIs for other applications. The Roadstatus frontend, for example, but also for the Waze application. This is a lot of data that comes through our system, and today I will talk a little about the experiences we had, learnings we got, and the future goals we set for ourselves to come up with a stable setup. First, let me explain a bit about where we came from. The Roadstatus project started out, as so many projects do, as a hobby, a side project, which happened to gain a lot of traction over time. The setup then was relatively simple, but also meant that there was a limit that was reached rather quickly. With more users over time and a lot more data to process, a basic LAMP stack that we used up until then was no longer enough to have everything up and running as well as stable, fast, and user-friendly. And a point was reached where scaling was no longer an option. So we decided to start over with a different setup. First, we discussed the components we needed to have in place, and we analyzed the data we receive and transmit, and what the optimal setup would be for this to work now. But obviously, in a way, it could also be scaled up in the future. So we decided to split the project into several parts, which I will explain in the next couple of steps. First, we'll have a look at the old setup, which was set on a single LAMP stack, and the data stream that were imported and exported. We quickly saw that the database we used was not up to the specific task. There is a lot of data that is processed on the same platform as the front-end environment that is used by our everyday users, and we noticed occasional drops of the database connection, lack of speed, and overall performance issues. A short-term solution to this was to split the database into several smaller ones. This was beneficial for the speed and availability of the Roadstatus project, but came with a serious issue. It was very difficult for anybody to see the structure in place and thus maintain the project and its data sources. By establishing the problems with the old environment and study the roadmap for all the different features, we decided to take a different approach. There's a new road status dashboard in development with the same functionality everybody is used to within the old application, and obviously a little bit more. We've updated the code and techniques used for the benefit of speed and scalability to a more modern equivalent. But the biggest difference is under the hood of the application. As I stated before, there are a number of data feeds that arrive and depart from the Roadstatus platform. And to streamline this process, we split the old setup into a front-end server that was originally there and a different data server where all the data is processed. This environment is not only used as a data source for the new front-end, but it will also encompass a RESTful JSON API, which gives us the ability to provide data in a structured manner to a lot more external parties. And because of the separation between these front-end and data environments, we can assure a more stable application. We can also benefit from the fact that we can tune the service to that specific task instead of having a single setup doing it all. The Waze application will also benefit from this greatly. We have an extensive cooperation where we receive multiple data feeds from Waze. In one example, we take the traffic status on certain routes, which can give insights into roadwork impact or the efficiency of planned diversions. We analyze and process this data on our data platform, where it is in turn requested by the front-end dashboard to, for instance, be displayed in graphs, maps, or a simple CSV export for external use. This data will also be available in the future through the aforementioned REST API for external applications. In turn, we provide Waze with detailed data about planned and unplanned roadworks, for instance, on all the major roads. This is data that we receive from external sources and process on a data processing platform to be used in Waze to, for instance, create dynamic roadblocks, a diversion on specific routes, or other events. And this can be combined with actual situations or incident data to create near real-time solutions for traffic management. The separation of environments on the Roadstatus platform ensures maximum availability and connectivity within the Waze application, and in turn provide more and pre-processed data to our front-end environment. And while these are some examples we currently have in place or in development, you can imagine that the possibilities are endless. For example, you can think about certain scenarios which can trigger automatically when a threshold is met on a particular route, or diversions created through input of an external system through the REST API. You can see that the setup allows for data to be processed and handled separately from the front-end environment. This allows for a more efficient, stable, and scalable solution. Although there's still the problem I mentioned in the beginning. The amount of data is simply too much to handle in the current setup. And to tackle this, we took an approach of splitting the data as well into two separate streams. While the project progresses, we'll shift parts of the data from the short-term current storage to long-term storage, specifically made for searching and logging. In this case, the short-term data is still used in Waze, the front-end application, and any application that needs near real-time data about current situations. The long-term data can be used in roadwork overviews, retrospectives of situations, or future insights on specific routes or events. And this will help with a more structured way of achieving knowledge about the traffic status and a better way to make informed decisions or plans based on historic data. This is short the current setup and future setup explained. If there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer them in a separate conversation. For now, I thank you for your time.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Pim, from home earlier today. So now we are come to the end of this webinar, and I want to ask you all to, if you have any question, permit them in the Q&A section, please, or in the chat. It's also fine for us, so we can answer all your questions. To warm up, we have some questions for you guys also. So Peter, would you bring in the two questions we have for the public?
Yes, so first of all, this was first session we did, the first session in English and also the first Waze data inspiration session. In the next coming weeks, we want to do some more webinars and also deep dive much more into the available Waze data and also more into the tools we created upon this data. So the first question is, did we accomplish our goal to give you some more insights in using the Waze data? And also more insights in how we use the Waze data.
And what are the answers for now?
So far, we did pretty good, I think. So that's really good to hear.
Okay, and we have also another question that Peter will ask you.
Yes, so as I said, the next couple of weeks we will be organizing some more webinars. The next webinar will be in 2 weeks, same day, same time. We'll be sharing some more about the tools we've also shown today, but we'll be going into some more additional tools. Something we will share in that next webinar is also how to get government sources better into Waze, Google Maps and other navigation apps. And we will also share something about the measurement of traffic flow, specifically at events and during bigger roadworks.
Okay. And for second question, what are the answers?
Yeah, I think we can continue with our webinar session right now, because many people are interested in seeing some more of our content. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And are there also coming in some questions from the public?
No questions so far.
We will wait for a minute. Maybe there will come some questions.
Yeah, and also we are really interested in how you are using the Waze data at the moment. So maybe it's interesting for other people to share something about that, and maybe also ask us some questions or send us an email. If you want to know more insights into specific subjects. We are still looking into what is interesting to share. And we really want to know what are people interested in, and what do people want to know. So if there's something you want to hear in our next webinar, please share something in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will have a look at those questions for the next time.
Yes, and how can they reach out to us?
So you can send us an email at peter@tripservice.nl or wouter@tripservice.nl. I'll put our emails on the screen for a second.
Cool.
So here you can see the email address of Wouter. So if you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to send us an email, and we'll definitely reach out to you. And also, if you answered in our poll, we'll also send an invitation for any next coming up webinar.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. For now, I don't see any questions coming in, so so we go to the end of the webinar for today. First of all, I want to thank you all for being part of our first English webinar. I hope we pronounced everything good and that you could hear us very good. Please don't click away directly right now, because we want to forward you to an overview of our future webinars, and there you can register yourself. As Peter said, the next webinar goes about online traffic management, during this webinar we will tell you more about communication with the motorist during roadworks or during an event. We want to thank you all. Have a nice day, nice evening, nice morning, and
good night, sleep well.
Yes, good night, sleep well, and we will drive home safely, and hope to see you for another time. So thank you all, and we see each other. Bye.